Okay, first, I have a very long story to tell, but I promise to tell it well, okay? Go get you a beverage of your choosing and some snacks, because I'm telling people's business today and I'm calling names. The downside, you actually have to pay attention. The upside, you get a 2-for-1 today. Actually, it actually might be a 3-for-1. Passion public service announcement. Passionate. Let me tell you something. So what is this Passion PSA podcast? Who am I? Well, they call me Passion, short for passion, no last necessary. Why is there no last name necessary? Because the first name says it all. I am passion and all that embodies. What do I do here? I give you the life coaching that you know you need, but don't enroll yourself in. When did I start? Actually, 2017. I'd leave a PSA on my Instagram regarding something I'd observed, and now we've evolved to this. Why do I do it? Why not? If even one person is able to take away one thing that changes their life, someone else's life, or changes the world for the better, then I've done what I was charged to do. So come on in, sit and listen for a while. There's something here for everyone at the Passion PSA podcast. Tell me if we have sound for this week. Tell me if we have sound. Let me know if you hear me. Okay, because it's giving what it's supposed to give. Greetings and salutations, my beloved passionate newcomers, visitors, and guests. Welcome to episode 97 of the Passion PSA podcast, where I, Passion No Last Necessary, your Get You Right Guru, issue a weekly public service announcement about whatever I've observed or what was on my mind. This is a for your consideration zone where the objective is to offer you a perspective you may not have previously considered to A, expand your thinking, and B, aid you in becoming a better version of yourself, and for others. This is a safe space, but not necessarily a delicate one. I will never rob you of your right to feel whatever it is that you feel. Same way, I won't sugarcoat the truth to make it more palatable. The goal is to get you to higher, more expanded thinking so you can operate as your highest and best self. If you're new here, affirmations are our first order of business so we can intentionally raise the vibration and start on one accord. Let's get on the same frequency. If you're ready, go ahead, take a deep breath. You are always welcome to repeat after me or to take this time to state your own affirmations. I am willing to sacrifice for my greater good. I am indefatigable. I am willing to face whatever I have to, even if I have to face it alone. I accept that change is the only constant. I accept that I am outgrowing some things. I am not looking back. I am moving ahead. I release the things and places that cannot accommodate me. I welcome and give thanks for the new coming into my life. Gratitude. I am well. It is well. All is well. Well is all. Ashe, ashe, ashe. So passionates, I would assume that most of you know that when you make changes to your eating habits, many of those changes will cause you to start losing weight or bring about other changes in your physique. I think that I'm fairly certain that we've talked about it enough before, but for the newcomers, I started doing the Daniel fast in 2011. Let's go back in time. The catalyst to me doing this fast was me working someplace where we gotten a new director who was harassing me. That's the short version, okay? The full version, story time. So either right before or right after my birthday, we got a new department director. We'll call her Pat because that's her name and we only protect the innocent here. So yeah, somewhere between March and April of 2011 or something like that. Not the most important detail, but relevant. Because I started there in November 2010. And when I started there, I was really happy. There was definitely dark energy moving through the space very freely, but I was unconcerned, right? I loved going to work. I loved learning, applying what I had learned in school, learning the things they couldn't teach in school. I loved the fact that I had the opportunity to expand and grow, and I was moving forward. That was my only goal. I had just changed careers. I had been in retail 7 years, and starting anew in medical billing after struggling to find a position was very gratifying. When I got there, my supervisor was overwhelmed because she was doing the work of a supervisor and a director, but she was getting paid as a supervisor. She kept asking for a boss, and that's where Pat comes in. But she comes on board after this other employee had resigned. Now, when Paul resigned, he blamed me, my supervisor, and the VP of the department, saying that it was our fault that he was resigning. The truth is, he came in feeling himself because he went to school and immediately after graduation, against advice, got his certification. The reason we were advised to wait until we had at least a year's experience was because, like I just said, there were things that we would learn working hands-on that we might be asked on the certification. Also, the certification suggests that you have a certain level of expertise and understanding, which Boy did not possess. So he was inept and inadequate, and his inability to get it right was chipping away at his ego daily. So he left and blamed us for him not being able to do the job. This lash is bothering me at the corner of my eye, y'all. Anyway, but it's giving Betty Boop with this red lip. Yes. Anyway, the SVP of the department, he was fond of him. So he took it real personal when this man resigned. And it seemed like there was like a lot of a vendetta. And with the way Pat behaved, it really seemed like she was brought on specifically to get me out. And based on something that was said to me after another employee was let go, I'm wholly convinced that Pat was brought on to clean house. Okay. So Boy leaves, Pat enters, and shortly after that, we get another employee. She's experienced and arrogant. She does what she feels like, and no matter what, she's never in trouble, never reprimanded, never corrected. She takes credit for what she didn't do and boasts about what she did. Pat worships the ground she walks on. Me, on the other hand, no matter what I did, she never had a positive word for me. Pat talked about me like a dog and said all kinds of disparaging things about me to my supervisor, to the golden child, to other directors. She couldn't find anything I did right, but she found every error, no matter how insignificant. Now I know somebody might be thinking,
Passion, like, real wild for calling this lady's name and calling her out like this.
But here's what. I could hear her talking about me. I could hear them laughing at me. And when they came out of that office, they would smile in my face like nothing happened. Self-preservation, that's what they called it, right? If I got to laugh with this lady to avoid the line of fire, that's what I'm going to do. That was the feedback when I confronted it. When I confronted her, she told me that the wool should be thicker. So I'm going to tell my truth because she was proud of her behavior then, so she can own it now. Okay? Anyway, we had a department meeting one day. It was one of those passive-aggressive situations of, I'm going to talk to the group, but everyone in this room knows exactly who I'm talking to and exactly what I'm saying. I sat through that meeting completely enraged, and the rage was metastasizing. By the time I got back to my desk, I felt nauseous. I figured it was because I'm sensitive to caffeine and maybe I had too much coffee. So I decided, let me chill on the coffee and drink water in the meantime, because in our building, we didn't have any vending machines, so I couldn't get anything to settle my stomach. I wouldn't dare ask that hateful wretch if I could go get something. I figured it was best to wait it out until lunch, see how I felt, and if I didn't feel better, I would just go home. Lunch came, I felt better. What would make me think I should try coffee again? I don't know, but that's exactly what I did. I got a fresh cup of coffee. I'm doing this work. I'm still seething and not wanting to be in this place and feeling like airing everybody out, and also feeling like I can't say anything because I need this job. And now I don't feel good at all. I feel even more nauseous than before. My heart is racing. I'm struggling. I'm taking deep breaths to try to get myself together, thinking maybe that'll help. My coworker, my friend, Janice, she's on the other side of my cubicle. She said,
Sharif, you okay?
I said, no, mommy, I don't feel good. She said,
what's wrong?
I said, I don't know. I don't feel good. I'm practically in tears, but I'm trying not to cry because I definitely don't want the Wicked Witch of the West coming out of her little den. Janice says,
you want me to get Mike?
I said, please. I'm panicking. The deep breaths are not helping. My heart rate won't slow. Now I'm starting to lose feeling and my body is going cold. I can't feel anything from my waist down. And I'm convinced I'm going to die in this chair. I'll stay being convinced I'm going to die somewhere, right? I'm horrified, terrified, and livid. The dam breaks and the tears are running down my face. I whisper, Janice, I can't feel my legs. Janice is scared herself, and she's trying to comfort me, so she's rubbing my back. Mike comes over to see what's going on. He says he's going to call an ambulance. Now, I don't know if the man yelled out the window to the hospital to send an ambulance, but he must have, okay? Because virtually the entire office comes over, pero for white. None of yous are trained in medical anything. All of yous being here are useless, but everybody came to see the spectacle. So now here comes the hateful hellion feigning concern. The ambulance comes and those EMTs, they're just as hateful as Pat.
It's just an anxiety attack. Just get on the bed.
Now I just told these rat bastards I can't feel my legs. How did they expect me to get on a gurney? There's no assistance, no compassion. And it's like they were annoyed that they actually had to work that day and more annoyed that they had to help me. They did ask who I wanted to go with me to the hospital. Now I said I wanted my supervisor to go. Hateful Smurf would not allow my supervisor to accompany me to the hospital. She insisted on going. And not only did she insist on going, but she did her best to violate my HIPAA rights. She would not move. She would not leave. I couldn't speak to the medical professionals. She kept trying to ear hustle the conversation, literally leaning over so she could eavesdrop on what I was trying to tell the doctor. But when I was on the gurney waiting to be seen, she didn't ask me if I was okay. She wasn't leaning in to make any conversation. It was one of the most uncomfortable situations I've ever been in my life. The doctor was even looking wild-eyed and trying to turn her back so like this woman couldn't read her lips. Like that kind of ridiculous. But what could I do? My back was up against the wall. And how did that situation end? When the doctor released me, Pat jumped in her car and sped off and left me standing at the bus stop waiting for a bus that wasn't going to come for another hour and wasn't going to put me anywhere near home. She insisted on being there and then left me stranded. There weren't any more anxiety attacks after that, but there were so many more microaggressions and awful incidents. And just a year after I started this job and loved it, I hated it. Now, I don't remember the exact moment, but 6 months of Pat told me that I needed to do something or I, for real, was going to die. I'd already been in a I gotta do something or I'm gonna die situation in 2008. I told y'all about that. So I tried the professional route first, right? At the end of the year, things had not gotten any better. And I decided to speak to my human resources director and let them know what was going on. Well, Leslie, the SVP of human resources, told me,
Your issue's not with your director. Your issue's with your supervisor.
I said, my issue is not with my supervisor. My issue is with my director. Further, if I'm telling you that the issue that I'm having is with the director and the supervisor is the next link in the chain of command, and I clearly don't feel comfortable speaking to my supervisor's supervisor because that's who I'm telling you I have a problem with, who then am I supposed to speak to? Leslie told me I didn't have an issue and continued to allow this abuse. Now, should I have sued the organization? Absolutely. At the time, I didn't have the resources and I didn't know who to turn to for the support or the direction. I just told y'all, my coworker and my supervisor, they weren't allies because of self-preservation. The director next door to Pat, she was friends with Pat, so she knew about it, she saw it, and she was complicit. She had her own agenda. Helping me wasn't on it. With no support from my department, no support from HR, I knew I was down bad and completely alone. So by November, I had reached a place where I knew I needed a drastic change. So I knew I had to do something drastically different. Growing up, my mother was an avid faster. No food, sun up to sundown. Fun fact, when I was much younger, we attended a Pentecostal church, and not just Pentecostal, Panamanian Pentecostal. Now, if you're Caribbean or you're West Indian, then you know. For a breakthrough, they're going to tarry for real. You hear me? Tarry, fast, pray, wash feet, march the house, march around the table. There are sound effects. If you know, you know. Okay? Point is, I knew that I couldn't do a sun up to sundown fast successfully, and I needed to be successful. My life was on the line. So I started researching fast, and I found the Daniel fast. quick background on this fast, okay? The abridged version is that in the book of Daniel, chapter 1, verses 3 through 20, if you want to look it up for yourself, okay? David, who's David? Daniel, Hananiah, Azariah, and Mishael. Some of y'all know them as Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Nobody knows Belteshazzar. Belshazzar. That was Daniel's remix name. It don't matter though. Point is, they were brought into the king's service. They had a certain amount of food and wine that was to be given to them daily, right? Daniel didn't want to eat food from the king's table, so he requested not to. The guard he spoke to was okay with it, but also afraid of being beheaded if they didn't eat. So Daniel's compromise: let us only eat fruits and vegetables for 10 days, then compare us to the other men who are eating from the royal food, right? 10 days later, they look healthier and stronger than the others, so the guard agreed to keep them on their chosen diet. Fast forward to chapter 10. Daniel goes through a period of mourning for 3 weeks. He said, I ate no choice food, no meat or wine touched my lips, and I used no lotions at all until the 3 weeks were over. Let me tell y'all something about fasting. Ain't never gonna be a fast where I don't put on no lotion, you hear me? Because my skin be entirely too dry. So, amen. We're gonna find us a breakthrough another way. Getting back to the story. Boom. So you take 21 days of not eating indulgence foods and instead only eating fruits and vegetables, and you have the basic premise for the Daniel fast. The fast itself isn't limited to only those things unless you really want to be strict. Regardless, that's the fast I chose after extensive research on different types of fasts and the specifics of this fast. And I actually did pretty well, right? But I wasn't completely successful because I started too late in December and Christmas came right at the end of my fast. So I went to my grandma's house for Christmas dinner. My father did all the cooking and there was nothing that I could eat. Everything either had dairy, meat, or sugar, and none of that is allowed. I said, okay, I didn't come all the way to Staten Island to sit here and be hungry and watch everybody else eat. My sister laughing in my face wasn't helping either. I definitely want to knock her plate on the floor. I made the executive decision to end the fast, eat regularly until the end of the year, then do the fast again in January, and give back the days that I had fallen short with my first attempt. So I just rounded it up basically to the whole month of January. So I fasted from the 2nd to the 31st. I felt like the first attempt was me purging and leaving behind anything I didn't need to take with me from 2011. And I'm starting my 2012 with an empty vessel, ready to receive whatever 2012 has to offer me. I didn't recognize the radical change when it happened, but when I realized it, it was quite the eye-opener. Fast forward almost a decade, in 2020, when the scamdemic starts, I've been doing this fast annually, and I've graduated from doing it for 3 weeks to doing it for the first 3 months of the year. My next milestone was supposed to be doing it for 6 months, but 2020 was moving weird and people were having a hard time staying alive. So I skipped right over 6 months and tried it for the year. I figured, worst case scenario, I'm unsuccessful. But so what? There's no hard and steadfast rule or law that says that I have to do this. This isn't even an assignment of God. This is just something that I'm choosing. So I did the first quarter. I kept it going until a week before my birthday, which is April 18th. Put that on your calendar. And that's what I usually cut off so I can indulge how I see fit for my birthday. May 3rd, that was the Sunday before Cinco de Mayo, I resumed the fast for the remainder of the year and well into 2021. Now, I'm going to share the yeses and the nos from the cookbook that I bought when I started the fast so y'all can see what you can and can't have. Okay, so this is from the Daniel Fast cookbook that I had originally purchased. And it's not just a cookbook. There's a lot of instruction and advice on how to go through the fast and what the other components are outside of just the food. But here are the lists of foods that you can have, the types of fruits, the types of vegetables, what constitutes or what's considered a whole grain, which nuts and seeds. Unleavened bread, you see that whole grain breads made without yeast, sugars, or preservatives. Foods to avoid are the leavened breads and yeast, right? Any bread with yeast, baked goods, Ezekiel bread contains yeast and honey. You can't have any animal products on this. So that's why the honey is left out. I also don't have vinegar when I'm on this because if you've ever done any research on vinegar is distilled from alcohol and you can't have alcohol on this fast. So it's a lot. You see the beverages even include green tea because green tea is very highly caffeinated. So it's just, there are a lot of things. It's not just, it's being vegan. No. It's far from just being vegan. It is an extensive list of things that you are turning down, and you can make anything tasty if you know how to cook, but if you don't, this list can look real what's called daunting. Even after the fast ends, for the most part, generally, I stay committed to a lot of the yeses and even the no's because it's a healthier regimen. Also, I firmly believe in your consumption being a major contributor to your health, and I was able to get through the year virtually unscathed as an essential worker, working many doubles, working with people who knew and then those who didn't know that they either had the cooties or had been exposed. And with my own issues, I still survived. So rushing back to a standard American diet was far from a priority. Now, you would think that the PSA in this episode is to fast, right? No. I told y'all this was a long story and we haven't gotten to the epiphany yet. But all of this was to give the full context of how we're going to end up at the ultimate point. Passion public service announcement. The whole story matters. It takes longer to listen, and there may be some details that you don't think are necessary. But missing those details can change the whole context of the story. Let's continue. So what happens when you make changes to your eating habits? If you make a total overhaul, you're almost guaranteed to lose weight. Sometimes you lose significant weight. Sometimes it's a few pounds. But even a few pounds can appear very stark on your body. In other words, you might look very different. And when people see this version of you, they may have funny reactions based on wrong assumptions. I got a lot of...
You good?
And I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. Why?
You lost weight, like.
Okay, yeah, I made changes to my diet. And even when you tell them that, some people will refuse to believe you because they'll assume that you just don't want to tell them that you're sick. I wasn't sick. Actually, I was probably in the best physical, emotional, and mental health I had been in a long time. But as a result of the changes that I'd made, because the body that I had previously had changed, the clothes that I had previously didn't fit anymore. Example, I love a good fitted jean. Most of the jeans I have, they have stretch in them. They're not fitting how they're supposed to, though. So I'm thinking they finally run the race and that they've expired. Like that rubber band that gave up and threw the picture frame at me. When I put them on, even after just taking them out of the wash, they do this balloon thing in the back of my leg instead of hugging me. But I'm oblivious, right? And I'm not thinking about spending money on clothes. So I dealt with these articles well past their retirement. Well, finally, earlier this year, I went out and bought some new jeans. And out of the jeans that I purchased, there was a pair that I bought that in the store, it seemed like they had stretch. But when I got home, I realized that they didn't. But I was able to get into them and they gave me the fit that I like. So I was like, all right, I kept them. The body that I was in at that time, even though I now had clothes to accommodate that body, was just a little bit smaller than the body that I like. So I was somewhere teetering between a 4 and a 6, and I like a 6 to an 8 body for me. So I knew that I was open to putting on some weight. My desire was to put on healthy weight, but I wasn't necessarily doing what needed to be done to put on healthy weight. Now, you hear a lot about people going vegan and then they're eating a bunch of processed vegan substitutes. So they might as well have stayed on board with what they were eating in the first place. This is one of the answers to that joke about a lot fat vegans. Because my route into this life of plant-based was through the Daniel fast, I wasn't doing a whole lot of processed foods, especially once I started finding alkaline vegan recipes and Dr. Sebi's African bio-mineral consumption plan. But this year, I've indulged in a lot more things that I really haven't eaten for so long. I had stopped eating bread almost completely. I've eaten more bread this year than I've had in the last 3 years combined. And that's mainly because the store upstairs has a vegan deli menu. So out of convenience, I sometimes just run upstairs and get something from there. It beats going to Chipotle every day because y'all know. Or paying $10 million in delivery fees and tips on the food apps. Point is, I started putting back on the weight. Now, that pair of jeans that just fit don't fit. So the ever-recurring question that we've revisited at least 3 times in the last calendar year, why am I holding on to this, resurfaces. Is it possible that I'll take some of this weight off and those jeans will fit again? Yes, but I need jeans that fit today. So present day, I'm getting ready to take a shower because I have to go to work. I look in the closet because I need to do laundry. I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to wear. I see the jeans and it strikes me. We're finally at the epiphany, y'all. The thing that was a good fit before isn't a good fit anymore. And that's what a lot of us are navigating. There's some things that when we took them on, they weren't exactly a good fit. They were a fit and they looked good. Different things. So we held on and we made it work with them. And then we started to grow. We started to expand. And now this new us can't fit. The thing still looks good. It hasn't necessarily lost its value, but it has completely lost its fit. Passion public service announcement. Attempting to get back into something that doesn't fit you is a waste of time for multiple reasons. I'm going to paint you a picture. I promise it won't be the Sistine Chapel I just did with Storytime, okay? Here we go. You ever try to put on jeans that don't have any stretch, that are too small? All right, y'all, I went to get the jeans so I could do a demonstration. I hope I don't fall over trying to stick my foot in these jeans. Okay. So these are the jeans I was telling you about. If it seems like they got some stretch, they don't. So you ever try to put on a pair of jeans that was too small? Look, y'all. Hold on. Look. You see? All right. You see this right here? You see this? Okay. Keep that in mind. So what happens is you might be able to get them over your foot, right? But they'll probably get stuck somewhere around your legs. Now, if y'all watched Friends, you probably remember that episode where Ross decided to put on those leather pants, and after he took them down, he couldn't get them back up. So he was trying to use all these different resources like baby powder and lotion, but nothing was working, so he was just stuck. When we try to put on something that's not a good fit, when we finally conclude we need to stop trying to get into this and decide to get out of it, we may have to wrestle. I'm not even playing, y'all. This is actually stuck on my sock. To get out. Now more time is being wasted. Now with the jeans, it could be stuck on your leg. You can't get it around your ankle. Your foot won't bend enough to get it off. You got to inch it off. You got to wiggle and wrestle to get out of it. But you knew it was a crapshoot when you started to put it on in the first place. So beyond asking why you're holding on to something that isn't serving you, the new question is, why are you even trying to put yourself in a place you no longer fit or a place that you've outgrown, especially knowing how much time you're going to lose struggling to get back out? The next part of the epiphany, what was it that I did that I came down to this size? Because losing the physical weight wasn't the goal, right? Whenever I do this fast, it's either for breakthrough or to lose some spiritual or mental weight. The physical weight just comes as, I guess, what some would call a plus. Nonetheless, I thought about what caused the weight loss. And that's also because the weight didn't come off immediately after the fast. Well, maybe it did. And it just took me 2 years to notice because I don't be paying attention. Anyway, I thought about what changes I may have made. I wondered if those changes or the allowances that I added back, while they did give me weight back that I wanted, did they benefit me in any other way? Did they benefit me spiritually, mentally, emotionally, right? Because once you know something, you can't unknow it. So knowing the effects of processed sugars, knowing the effects of certain foods, how they break down, how they impact you physically and metaphysically, the changes that I've made, while yes, they allowed me to put on some weight and I like what I see externally, how has it benefited me internally, if at all? That's something that I'm wrestling with, but still not the point of what I wanted to talk about today. It really was just that I started on this journey because I needed a radical change in 2011 for that time and that environment. But I didn't just get a radical change for there and then. It radically changed me over the course of a decade so that the things that I was thinking about then, how I now respond or react, my decisions in my consumption, all of that shifted. But then I go back and forth now with the weight. And when I go back and forth with the weight, I go back and forth with what's going in and out of my closet, literally and figuratively. This thing comes in and it only fits for a little while. And the questions are, do I hold on to it just in case it starts to fit again? Do I make a decision that I want to hold steady in this place, or do I stay in it for the season that it fits and then release it because I'm not in that season anymore? Even if I go into a similar season down the line. If I go into a similar season down the line, it doesn't mean that I need to be wearing the same things. Example, home repair in your apartment and home repair in your house both require tools. But the tools that you used in the apartment, from the little chipichanga toolkit that you were able to do your little arts and crafts projects with, that's not necessarily the tools that you're going to need for a contracting project in your house. A hammer's still a hammer, and a screwdriver's still a screwdriver. But sometimes you need something a little more heavy duty or high powered. So while you have a tool that was a good fit for a similar situation, in this next situation, you need something that's the best fit. That's where we started, right? A fit that looks good versus a good fit. In 2014, I did an event called a Night of Passion. And a Night of Passion could be done in flip-flops and jeans and a tank. And the bar that I was hosting it in was an appropriate space. In that time, I fit in that space. But in 2024, I don't necessarily fit in the same space, and I definitely don't fit the same way. Trying to host a gala in that space wouldn't be conducive for the event or the work that's to be done. The audience may or may not respond to the venue, but let's say they do. It's chock full of distractions, at least for what I want to do. So it doesn't make sense to return to an environment that may or may not fit and may take more work to get out of than it would have to never have stepped into it in the first place and just be in the space that's not only a good look, but a good fit. 5 passion points, and we're getting out of here. Just because you don't see change taking place doesn't mean nothing is happening. Sometimes the work you're doing on yourself will correct someone else. I felt like my supervisor had turned on me in the ugliest way when that woman came in, and I was so hurt. Now, I didn't treat my supervisor any different, though. I watched how she moved, but I didn't start moving funny. After the fast, her tune changed, and it wasn't immediate, but it was a 180-degree turnaround. Radical change. Not every story can be rushed, and you're not going to get the full story from the Cliff Notes version. I had someone tell me once that they got the gist of the episodes through watching clips. I don't even post clips in their order of occurrence in the episode. Further, if my intention is to highlight a specific point, I may splice together 8 seconds from the beginning of the episode, 30 seconds from the end, and 13 seconds from the middle. That's a totally different point from what's stated in the episode. The point, make time to pay attention and understand. A lot of folks are laughing off their short attention spans and wanting the person talking to get to the point. Now, I get it. That's not unreasonable. The thing is, you're not going to rush me through what I have to say, only to then ask me questions to fill in the blanks now that you chose confusion over context. Also, if you don't want people saying things like,
I just said,
or
I just told you that,
pay attention when they're speaking. Now, is everyone a great storyteller? No, but details matter regardless. Stop wasting your time trying to get back into places and spaces and jeans you no longer fit. It does nothing but frustrate you when you're trying to get out, and it burns up one of the main resources that we can't recreate or get back: your time. Pay attention to the changes you're making. Some of them are having the intended impact on one thing, and some unintended impact on other things. Just keep an eye on it so you're aware of the changes and so you can monitor if you're satisfied with the changes as a whole. Okay? You Get You Right Guru is signing off. Y'all go forth. Be great. Be filled with bliss. Be armed and empowered with knowledge. Pick your jeans wisely. If they don't fit, donate them. If you think you're going to lose the weight to get back into them, donate them. Unless you're actively trying to lose the weight to get back into that specific pair, donate them and go get a different pair of jeans. But any space that you go in, before you fight to get into a space that if you get in, you just fit, might not even be comfortable. And after all of that, to get out of this space is so much work and so uncomfortable, it's going to make you wish you had never tried to wrestle and fight to get in. Save yourself the headache and don't do it at all. Okay? In all things, be passionate. See you later.